Good evening. Wilbur Cook, Hand Up Recovery Homes here live to discuss the various things going on in the community, in particular North Lawndale, East West Garfield, and Austin, the west side of the city of Chicago, which is prevalence for gun violence and other forms of violence due to the myriad of poverty issues, mental health challenges, and lack of institutions to help them with that. Services that have not been provided by many who have had funding for years, 10, 20, 30 years, to the struggling people in the community. However, we specifically are out to get in the community and touch people. There are other people that go see victims, go to hospitals, but we're trying to help do the prevention intervention piece. Talk to people about the emotions. Help people find jobs, better housing, things that the stress of those issues bring about anger, frustration, disappointment, and sometimes hopelessness that makes it easy to potentially pull the trigger of a gun if they have one, or to possibly stab somebody. I've known a few people who stab people to death out of anger, out of frustration, out of disappointment. And then this thing of domestic and relationship violence seems to be prevalent, like the one stabbing I know a few years back. A young lady stabbed a mate that refused to go back to Milwaukee and stay in Milwaukee over the car keys one night. Wasn't intending to hit her in that artery, but she hit her with that knife in the artery. And when most people tell you if your artery gets severed without immediate medical attention and pressure on the wound to stop some of the bleeding, you will bleed out in a short period of time and be rendered dead, lifeless. You can get shot a lot of places. If it don't hit no artery, there's a chance you'll live if it doesn't hit an artery or vital organs. But even without hitting vital organs, if you get hit by guns, knives, other traumas to your arteries, stuck with anything, and it hits the artery, it can start, you could bleed out, which in effect, a short period of time. I don't know the exact minutes. Some probably I need to research later. I won't Google while we had a show live. But that's the issue. And then we've had these several incidents in our corridor of help, our target streets. One happened by Legler Library. Somebody in an argument and they shoot at somebody, but they end up wounding two innocent kids. Thank God they only wounded the kids. Unfortunately, they did shot that weapon, period. And also the fact that they did injure someone and innocent bystanders who happen to be young children.
Unfortunately, at a public library, too.
Yeah, and in front of a public library they shot. But the argument started in the library, which is bad also. But so we have to be much more careful, handle our feelings and emotional, find the resources that are available to, as you say, de-escalate. But I think one thing is handling one's own emotional. You don't know how much de-escalating in that. When the police and other counselors come along, they can try to de-escalate. But individuals have to monitor and be conscious of their self-control, as they would say, their internal barometer for frustration, disappointment, and address it before you get to a point where you find it easy to just shoot a gun in public or private, but especially public, where you can hit a lot of innocent people that have nothing to do with it. The other thing is very important in this situation is we had an incident on Spalding and Douglas reportedly. I'm getting different addresses, either at that corner or down the street in the 1400 block or the 1300 block. It's even been misprinted a few blocks away. But in general, long-standing community member puts on Facebook condolences to such and such family on his loss. here's domestic, but we got to stop shooting and killing each other over domestics. 5 people wounded, 1 dead. 5 wounded, 1 dead. And it may have been over a boyfriend, girlfriend squabble. And I understand that feelings are hurt. I understand people may feel disrespected. I understand that you want to get back at somebody, but to shoot, cause, and or shoot innocent people or people who did not cause your harm. And the other part is now you set off the potential for 5 retaliatory situations as the professional and long-standing violence interrupters will discuss. And you still may be mad, and the people you with that may have did the shooting. And you have ruined 5 families, not just 5 lives. There are 5 families there that are affected by the shooting and especially the death. But depending on the injuries in the shooting, it could be just as bad or worse. Because living with somebody that ends up a quadriplegic from any traumatic event, car accident, shooting, stabbing, that is tough, super tough on the family, day in, day out, and other loved ones. And then you have your own situation where whoever's involved, all them lives have been forever changed. And the word on the street got way over to me that they know who's involved. That's really bad for everybody. Because all these lives, up to at least 7 lives, 2 possibly involved in the shooting or more, and the 5 people injured and the 1 dead. All those families will be forever changed by this incident. And we got to stop just thinking I'm getting back at somebody.
It's really grateful that, Hand Up Recovery does the de-escalation type things like anger management training. That we do things like how to...
grief counseling, because there's going to be some needed in this situation.
Absolutely. Some of those other services can really help. And bringing people involved into 12-step programs that can actually help deal with problems, hurts and hang-ups that domestic
where they potentially drunk and made it easier, and they was less inhibitive, and they was their willingness to possibly get the trigger pulled and rally the troops for a confrontation. Were they high off weed, high off X, high off water? Were they just, were they a combination? That contributed to their inhibition to hold back on shooting at someone. And we don't know, it sounds like it may have been a bit of a fight. It may have been a physical tussle beforehand. We don't know all the details. But we have to stop killing each other. We got to stop shooting each other. We have to get better at managing emotions, because as I say, we have up to 7 or more families, not just the individuals involved. The whole family will be forever changed by this incident. And then now we have to stop the potential for 5 more, 7 more, 10 more potential incidents of shootings and or other potentially deadly circumstances and violence. That is a lot to try to monitor. The guys and ladies that handle that will be out there, I'm sure, trying to handle that part. I and my people, Eric included, will try to help people deal with issues before that happens. But in the case of grief, we have a grief coach available. If you call us at 773-213-0802, or if you email us at wecook3289@yahoo.com, we will try to put you in touch with a grief coach that can try to help you with this situation. And or we also, if the grief coach is unavailable and doesn't feel they can handle that situation, we have various agencies. I Am Able right there at Holman and Roosevelt is their main office. We have HSI, Habilitative System Institute. that incorporated that's over at 415 South Kilpatrick that have a myriad of services. We have Chicago Avenue Health, West Side Health Authority, Jackie Reed and her crew up on Chicago Avenue in Cicero. We have another clinic right off Western and Polk Street that is the like Lawndale Health Clinic or the City of Chicago Health Clinic. Someone I know went there. So there's a mental health clinic there too. And anybody struggling, anyone struggling with any mental, emotional
I can
issues.
talk to a pastor anywhere.
Well, Eric said you can talk to a pastor anywhere.
They can go to a
However,
hospital emergency room.
most of them churches don't have no pastors available during the week. It's a sad case. There's a handful that's available, and usually if you're not a church member, you don't know they're available. Or there's a few, like the one that assists us, Pastor Richard Nelson, who does regular office hours throughout the week. People in the community, in that area we're talking about, will be there tomorrow evening trying to talk to people, trying to help avoid any retaliation, trying to help folks sort through feelings that may lead to violence. We'll be at 1302 South Kedzie, trying to help prevent any further incidents of violence and to help people try to find resources to sort through the violence they've heard about, they've experienced, they're thinking about. Any of them situations, even in suicide, violence against oneself. Eric, you want to chime in?
It's at the BT Little Community Center where
Right.
we're going to have some groups. Also at Carrington Century Church on Fridays, we've got groups where people can come and get some assistance.
Right. So, this Friday we'll be at 4032 West Van Buren. If you need a follow-up or you're not available, to meet us at BT Little 1302 tomorrow, Thursday evening. Just got off the phone with Pastor Nelson. He said he will be glad to have us back in the building at BT Little Community Center to try to help somebody in the community. Come out, join us for a discussion on how we can try to avoid emotions running wild, running rapid, that leads to shooting, leads to other physical violence, lead to death in families, lead to destroying families that are already having a tough time before these violent incidents occur.
Talk to some positive folks in your life too. Talk to people. Talk about it. Don't just act on some of those emotions. Actually.
Right. Yes. Please don't act on those emotions. Also, we want to say there are various services there. Eric, you know a few. You want to discuss a few that have been very helpful to people on recovery level, mental health level, finding resources like jobs.
Well, a lot of the public officials have resources in their offices. If you were to stop in, you could get information at block clubs. It's just old-fashioned things that in the community that are people don't think about utilizing anymore. They're
all right,
still available.
Thank you. Social media. Agencies have social media pages. They're on Instagram. We're on Instagram. They're on Twitter. They're on LinkedIn. They're on Google. You can do a Google search. If you want to know how long we've been in existence, we've been trying to help people. We started out primarily doing recovery, housing, and support services. Now we're doing support services and helping with gun violence reduction and prevention in the community. We have a almost 17-year track record. I personally have a 33-year track record trying to help people recover from alcoholism, substance abuse. And our organization has a 17-year track record. So
Talking about recovery meetings, there's 5,000 Alcoholics Anonymous meetings in Chicago every week. There's organizations like HSI. There's organizations all over, and then you got the Park District facilities. You can go and do have some positive fun.
Right. There are various things going on in your community. The 24th Ward, every Sunday, you can go to Central Park Roosevelt from 1 to 3. They have the garden open and they do jazz, they do playtime, they do live entertainment, they do poetry, they do singing, they do everything. And this is above and beyond church across the street at Stone Temple that morning at 11 o'clock. And they even will soon have their summer spiritual event, and they'll have that part covered, and they'll feed 300-400 people, maybe 600-700 people, depending on the capacity. But they have food galore that day. They sing, they play music, they engage folks, they have services. Prevention Partnership, great agency, been helping with people that have various issues from mental health, substance abuse, STDs, sexually transmitted diseases in particular. They're the specialists for 20-some years on HIV/AIDS, teaching people to live with a disease before it became prevalent. They started over 20 years ago when a lot of people were dying from the disease, but they could have lived with it with the right care, a good attitude, spiritual growth, and changing some bad habits, getting high, drinking and stuff, that would allow their immune system to get stronger and get stronger, as well as the medicine that was starting to come out. Today, your T count can go down to undetectable, the disease in your body, and you stop transmitting the disease also when you get the right medication. So I know we don't like to talk about that, but sometimes the violence occurred because somebody was stepping out on somebody. Sometimes it's them little diseases and medical conditions tell the truth of the relationship struggle. I don't know what happened, but we don't know, but we have to deal with all our medical issues, even our own personal health, our weight, diabetes, high blood pressure. When you're not feeling well, you don't always behave well. You have a snippet attitude, you get frustrated more easy, you're disappointed. And some of it is unresolved internal issues, and some of it is the struggle of handling your medical conditions, especially when you don't have things under control. I know I lived through it. A few years back, my blood pressure was out of control, my diabetes was out of control, my weight was more out of control, if you could believe that. And I was turning down meals on a regular basis because I go to church and I do community events and there be food everywhere. And they usually, if they don't have nothing else, they got desserts and a sweet pop or juice. And I had to learn to turn that down before I learned to actually lose weight again and stop gaining weight regular. But also because of the diabetes. And then I listened to the Couch Doctors with Congressman Danny K. Davis on Monday nights, and they talk about how carbs translate similar and affect the body similar to sugar. And the 4-to-1 ratio, 4 grams of carbs is like 1 more gram of sugar to the body. And why we shouldn't have potato salad, spaghetti, and the mac and cheese at the same time at the family event on the holiday. So I learned those things by listening to resources that are out there. And that's a Facebook program every Monday, Congressman Davis, the Couch Doctors with Nicole Harvey. And it's a great way to get resources on your health and emotional support. And they hook you with doctors on the north side. We got medical doctor Terry Mason, who's been the head of the Chicago Health Department, head of the Cook County Health Department, has had a show on local radio for 10, 15 years with men's health in particular, because we'll sit around and die from everything and heal from nothing, playing tough. Well, I hope we're tough enough to take care of some of the kids we leaving around. But anyway, another story. Eric, you want to try?
Well, I just got to talk about some of the positive issues we've had, some of the positive results from doing outreach.
Right.
We've met some people that were in some pretty down-in-the-dump situations, and a couple of them actually took the advice and ended up getting some help and are doing well, and now in temporary housing and waiting to get permanent housing. And so folks can turn around their lives, and there is hope. And
one of our best staff
Getting
members,
positive
Eric
affirmations.
brought to us. One of our best staff members, Eric brought to us.
regular job now. You're right.
He was on the show a few weeks ago. Sean.
Blessing.
Sean Smith that sat over here where Eric's sitting now a few weeks ago that works with us. Eric brought him to us, having got his life back together, wanted to get back to regular work, and he's become our regular staff member.
Another gentleman actually attends meetings regularly, lives in a halfway house, and actually went to treatment and showed up at our session.
Right. And we also have a gentleman with 34 years come out every Thursday, 5:30 to do a recovery meeting. 34 years. He comes all the way across the city from the south side, passes dozens, if not hundreds, of potential meetings to come all the way and won't accept the check. Won't accept gas money, anything. And if he finally accepts, the next week he come bearing fruit gifts.
Full of advice.
The old DVDs, VCRs, he'll probably go buy a whole streaming set next time. He'll probably end up buying cable and stuff for the program. But he's that type of guy.
Tommy, the gentleman you're talking about, has helped hundreds, probably
Tommy
thousands
G.
of folks over the last 30, 40
thousands.
years.
So he's helped me over 32 years, try to help people find recovery on the west side, starting with a little meeting at 1448 South Holman at Character Cincinnati Church, lower level basement. And then it grew 15 years later into a recovery home on 4032 West Van Buren, and Tommy helped there for years. He helped enroll probably 100 men in the services called Access to Recovery that many of them are doing great around the city, and we'll talk about that more next time. But recovery from alcoholism, substance abuse, marijuana addiction. People don't like to think of that, boy. You get to smoking your weed and won't do anything.
Marijuana's a
gateway, just like they talk about. It's a gateway. You know, you vegetate the whole day and night away.
Unfortunate that it's legal now.
And now, too, you'll vegetate and play games with the kids, and then your mate will divorce you. I actually had that happen when I was substitute teaching. Woman married one of the workers, and later she divorced him because he was playing games constantly with her kids, and she couldn't get no attention and affection. But, you know, a little weed and all that, and a video game, who knows if people will ever build their life past work and video games. Not bad, but
homelessness is a huge negative. You know, got to come up with some solutions.
August 18th, Character Cincinnati AME Church. That Friday evening, we will be having a town hall forum meeting to discuss housing. Should we help bring more affordable housing to the Douglas Boulevard corridor and all those vacant lots on Christiana, St. Louis, Trumbull, Drake? Should we help try to redevelop those with affordable housing, mixed rate housing? Should we do senior housing, recovery housing? Should we do a combination? So meet us there on home in a hand-up recovery home to discuss housing. And also we'll have 2 or 3 resources at least to plug you into current organizations that can help those who are homeless, housing insecure, I guess we say it, when you couch surfing with your family and friends, to try to find stable housing. All right, whether it's 1 bedroom, whether it's a studio, whether it's multiple apartments for those with kids, multiple bedroom apartments for those with kids. Yes, Eric.
Folks that stick around the programs, that you talk to your therapist, talk to your counselor, talk to your recovery coach, and you know,
just
stay in touch. Those that stay in touch survive and thrive.
Yeah. And understand, gun violence solves nothing. It only creates a lot more problems. Like they say, when you take a drink, your problem is still there, no matter how drunk you get. When you sober up, or finally sober up, or end up in the hospital getting sober and pumped out, your problems that were there when you started drinking be there. When you're drugging, when you shoot people, you have problems that are still there, only they've escalated to criminal problems that can have untold situations for families, the individuals, and then when there's a death involved, there's that much more problems with families, individuals, loved ones, and people's desire to possibly get revenge, and that's even more deadly and more destructive. We have to stop the cycle of violence. Thank you for your time. It's been a plumb pleasing pleasure, as my mentor, motivational speaker Les Brown would say. One last comment.
Promote love, not guns.
All right, love, not guns. Stop the killing. Stop the shooting.